Hello, my name is Chris Howard. As I get older, I realize that the stories of our elders need to be preserved. So I've decided to try my hand in the world of podcasting by recording some conversations with Frank Gutkowski. Frank's sons are Tony and Luke. I think of them as brothers. Frank, also known as Butch, also known as Old Man, has been a huge influence on me for many years. And here is how I plan to repay the favor. Please join me while I have a cigar with Butch.
You know the day destroyed the night, and not divide the day. Tried to run, tried to hide. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through, bring on through, bring on through to the other side, yeah.
Episode 2 of A Cigar with Butch. Butch went fishing today. He needs to tell us about his fishing adventure.
Silver Creek was too clear, and there were too many people on it. Cattaraugus Creek was too muddy. It's up about a foot and a half. I went to Canadaway Creek and fished. Met a couple young men who were just getting into steelhead fishing. Didn't catch anything, and then drove all the way to Chautauqua Creek, and it was too muddy. Checked Dunkirk Harbor and Barcelona Harbor for minnows. No minnows and no birds.
Well, soon you'll be able to take the boat from creek to creek to try it out.
No, I go out in the lake. But yeah, it was kind of an uneventful day. I did see 5 eagles, though, which makes my day just to...
Definitely seeing a lot more of them around.
Oh, yeah.
You know, for sure. I don't know how many pair there are down here on Granats now, but there are. You see them all the time now. Well,
there's 2 pair on Silver Creek. If you drive back the road for the cemetery off of Route 20,
yep.
There's 2 nests there. They can't be 100 yards apart.
Huh. Yeah, there's plenty of food, you get the lake right there and the creeks. And
I'll tell you, you go down there here in the next couple of weeks, and there's a little falls there that stops the suckers from coming upstream. And you'll see the eagles going right down, grabbing the suckers out of the water. It's like something you see from Alaska.
One day we had them down, or 1 year, they were hanging out in the tree down by Dad's. And we couldn't figure out what they were doing down there. Until you go down there, they had a flock of geese had landed and weren't smart enough to leave. And the eagles were just eating when they felt like it.
Oh, yeah.
Feathers everywhere.
Yeah.
Good eagles.
Well, you see, the thing is, the geese molt while their young are growing up. So the geese can't fly either. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Right.
Until they're young, they'll fly just before their young can.
Yeah. So, one thing that I wanted to ask you about is we went over last episode that you grew up on the farm until you were in your teens on your grandfather's farm on 18 Mile Creek. But your earliest memories of a summer day on the farm, what you'd typically do, I'd have to imagine you spent a lot of time just following somebody around.
Yeah, that, and we had a sandbox made out of railroad ties. When we were little, we could go play in the sandbox, and all my mom or grandma had to do was look out the kitchen window to see if we were in the sandbox. And there were also pear trees in the yard. So in the fall, when the pears started coming, 9 times out of 10 you wouldn't eat lunch or dinner because you eat so many pears. And then you got somebody to go with you. My grandfather had 3 or 4 different kinds of plum trees.
So he had like a little orchard.
Well, it was it was like a hedgerow in the garden, you know.
Okay.
It was, and this way here, if they did have to water the garden, the hose reached the trees also, so that you had nice fruit.
Now, how big was the garden when you were growing up?
Well, we had a garden that was just over an acre on one side of the house with grapevines along the one edge of it.
I gotta love the way they call that a field.
Yeah.
Yeah. You graduate from garden about a half an acre, I'd say.
Yeah. And then we had 2 strips that went down the hill to the ditch that were probably each another acre. And then back behind the cow pasture, there was probably 4 or 5 more acres. And basically what it was is a truck farm.
Okay.
My dad worked afternoons, so a lot of times the day before, we'd be picking bushels of tomatoes, bushels of zucchini, cucumbers, which I hate picking because they're prickly, eggplant, peppers. We never grew any root crops.
No potatoes or...
We did in the family garden alongside the house, but as far as selling them, they never sold them.
Potatoes is a tricky business to sell them. You got to be able to clean them and in order to prepare them for sale. They're kind of...
Well, we sold them on our fruit stand out in front.
But to ship them up to the market was tough.
No, they didn't. They never did that. But yeah, once you could wander, it was a whole lot more fun.
Right. You got to be 6, 7, 8 years old. You probably were.
Yeah, we could go down. They had the ditch for the artesian well dammed up, you know, for water supply for the garden. And we'd go down there, I don't know, I think I was 8 when I got my Red Ryder BB gun. And we'd go down there and shoot the frogs and stuff and bring them back home, and Grandpa would cook them. And he'd only share them with you.
Now, you figure, Grandpa, when he picked that land, did he pick it because of the artesian well, or was that just an added bonus?
I have no idea. All I know is my grandfather was originally part of the mafia, the Cosa Nostra, because he acquired that property in 1929 amid the Great Depression.
Right. Yeah, just the beginning of it. Nobody was
well,
buying
not
anything.
only that, but you got to realize Prohibition happened then too. So I know my grandfather had dealings with smuggling liquor.
Right, yeah, it was, like I said in the last episode, I know they said Buffalo was one of the biggest imports for the bootleg liquor from Canada.
Yeah.
Because it was, on a nice day in a rowboat, it didn't take you very long to get across right there,
No, you only had 2 miles or, less.
Yeah.
The other thing, my grandfather, with his teams of horses, you got a wagon full of hay.
Yeah.
It's no big deal putting a couple cases of whiskey underneath the hay.
There are treasures there, but can you still recall the time of cry? Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through, bring on through, bring on through to the other side, yeah.
How old were you when you could climb down into the 18-mile creek by yourself?
They made me wait until I was like 12 or 13.
So about the time you were moving off the farm. But
yeah,
we were spending a bunch of time down there anyways because Grandpa and Dad, your dad was a big fisherman,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. That and we'd bother my mom so we could go down, and if she wasn't too busy, she'd take us down there. And I had older cousins.
Now, did you fly fish then? Or just take did you just have a Zebco reel and rod? Or?
We had a bait caster.
Okay.
This is back, late 60s, early 70s. Zebco wasn't in existence.
Right. So you weren't, when did you start fly fishing?
About 14.
Down there with your dad, or was your dad a fly fisherman?
No, it was all me.
Okay, just had to teach yourself.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but we'd go to G&R Tackle in South Buffalo, West Seneca's South Buffalo line. And my dad used to go there for fishing equipment, bullets, and they had a fly tying section. And that's what got me interested in it, because I'd go in there and Gordy would be tying flies.
Right.
And, I'd sit there and watch them. And
I watched you tie a lot of flies. I never could pull one off very well.
But then Gordy, the one April, Gordy invited us. I don't know whether it was a vacation home or his house or whatever, but Derby Brook, which runs into Zoar Valley.
Okay.
He invited us up there, and we saw, they weren't stocking steelhead. These are natural. There's these 2-foot-long steelhead in this creek you can all but jump across. And to me, it was unbelievable. And Gordy said when he got back from Second World War, he bought the property in 1948. And he said he walked out there one day and here's these steelhead back there spawning. Well, later in the 90s, they did a study on Derby Brook. And the first study they did, it was astronomical. So they figured they made a mistake. The second study they did, there was more young ones in the water. The third one they did, there was even more.
This is a natural.
All natural.
All natural.
And it's like,
because they don't stock only but down at the lake, right? And they try to make it for thinking on
but the thing is what people don't realize around here is in the early 1900s, I can't remember the guy's name. Anyways, he brought eggs to the Leroy hatchery. And his plan was to stock these fish into the Great Lakes because they were ocean-going fish. And he put a couple thousand of them in Derby Brook and Spring Brook, which run into the Cattaraugus. Well, the guy died, and it was forgot about. Now, throughout the years, when they used to allow spearfishing, when the guys would be in Gowanda spearfishing the riffs, they would spear the occasional trout. Well, nobody realized they were going all the way up in Zoar Valley and spawning and reproducing.
Right.
And what people don't realize now is when you catch one, if you look at the dorsal fin, if the dorsal fin is absolutely straight, that's a native fish that was born wild. Because in the hatchery, they feed fish from the surface.
So the steelhead are not natural to the Great Lakes.
No, they were stocked here.
Huh.
The only trout, well, two trout that are natural to the Great Lakes are brook trout and lake trout. And of course, Lake Ontario, you had Atlantic salmon that at the turn of the 20th century, back in the 1900s, there were so many Atlantic salmon in those streams up there that they were filling wagons.
Yeah.
Full
Now, were those brought in, or they came up?
No, those were natural. The Atlantics were natural, and humans wiped them out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that's still a big thing. Was that Pulaski? Pulaski.
But those are stocked fish, very, very few natural fish. But no, we used to have a lot of fun shooting frogs and mourning doves. You know.
Yeah, anything would hold still. We killed them with BB guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you moved off the farm in your early teens, and at that point you'd already given up on high school and gone to racing horses.
Well, yeah, that was at 16. I was actually in my senior year of high school. I needed 1 credit to graduate.
Now, did you meet your first wife in high school?
No, I met her. I was working with the racehorses, and a guy from North Collins, Rusty Downs.
So that's not a horse racing name. I don't know what it is.
But me and him were working with the racehorses. Our parents had been friends since they were kids. And she happened to be one of their neighbors. Yeah.
And then, so you were still horse racing when you began seeing her.
Yeah. And then I had these folks harassing the hell out of me at the racetrack. And Bethlehem Steel was hiring. So all I did is work on the farm. By farm, I mean my uncle's horse farm.
Right, okay.
Until I got hired at Bethlehem Steel.
And you said, how long did you work at Bethlehem Steel?
A year and a half.
And so that was, how old was Tony and his sisters when you were working? Or were they not born yet when you were working at the steel plant?
His sisters, one sister was born just about the time I got hired at the steel plant. And then the other sister was born a year later.
Things were going good. Had a good steel plant job, a couple kids.
Yeah, bought a brand new 1970 Econoline van.
Boy, you wish you still had that.
It rusted out.
Yeah.
But, no, then I got laid off and I got hired at Republic Steel 9 months later.
Okay.
So,
how long did you work at Republic?
9 years and 4 months.
Okay. So
because I missed out. If I would have had 6 more months, I would have had a vested retirement. Instead, I got $2,500 and 6 weeks vacation, which they gave me the check to, which I wasn't supposed to get. And then a year later, they come back and they say, well, you were only supposed to have 4 weeks vacation. We want the 2 weeks back. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The switch and no lights came on. Something was wrong. Looked around at everything going around inside of my room. Then we stare at my dresser drawer. I looked around more. Totally ignore the floor. If that chick for my last cigarette, I'm gonna get rambunctious, yeah. Cause if that chick's for my last cigarette, I'm gonna get rambunctious, yeah. Time for sexual healing. I'm looking up at the ceiling. Don't mess around with my feelings or get caught up in my dealings. Why would you try to come to me with those evil lies? Don't cry, don't cry. First to fly what I'm thinking. I get that chick with my last cigarette. Gonna get rambunctious.
And then you guys were living in Angola at the time?
Yeah. Yeah, in Point Breeze.
Okay. And if I remember the stories correctly, Tony was quite the handful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he constantly on his tricycle.
I've seen him ride a motorcycle. We should put him on a tricycle again. Can't wait till he hears it.
But, no, you had to be real careful because he'd take off for the beach on his tricycle.
Yeah.
He had a teenage buddy, and Tony was only three or four. He had a teenage buddy, Danny Bozzolari, and he didn't call him Danny, he called him Burnout. But Danny, a lot of times, him and Tony, he'd take Tony on the tricycle down to the beach to go swimming, and then half the time he took a dog leash with him, and what he'd do is he'd put it around the handlebars of the tricycle, because Tony would get tired pedaling back, and he'd just tow him back.
Yeah, I better bring him back. I'll be in big trouble if I don't. So you guys lived in Angola
for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it would have been, Luke would have been born, 82 or 83?
82 or 83, yeah.
And you, Tony and his sisters, they moved to like Lockport or something, right?
Yep.
Up north?
Yeah, they moved to a little town outside of Lockport. And I didn't get to see them much. I was going through the transition of getting laid off from Republic Steel and getting into the construction industry. So there were 3 or 4 years there that were really tight.
What was your first job in construction?
Maintenance man at 4 Bush Lumber.
There you go.
I worked with a guy.
Because there was a 4 Bush in Gowanda too, correct?
Yeah, there was a 4 Bush in Hamburg, Gowanda, and Salamanca. And I did a roof with the guy, well, actually 3 roofs with the guy. And Bruce Forbush, when we were all done, the guy was shady. There were days I'd show up and be working by myself. Well, Bruce come to me and he says, "You want to work for me?" And I says, "Yeah, doing what?" He says, "Whatever." Well, Bruce had a window shop. I worked in a window shop. I worked in a door shop, putting pre-hung doors together, and then did maintenance around the buildings and stuff. And I really liked the job, and the only reason I quit is we were talking pay. Me and the 2 guys that ran the door shop, we were talking pay, and they had been there for years. I had only been there a little over a year, and I found out I was making more than they were. Well, what kind of future have I got?
Right, if you've already topped out.
Yeah.
Right.
So I ended up going and working for, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, a landscape company. They had put all the trees in. We were digging trees at Schichtel's tree farm for them. And then when the spring season ended, they had planted all the trees for the rapid transit downtown in Buffalo.
Okay.
And a couple of those little parks down there and stuff. Well, they had to maintain the trees. So in other words, they had the whole season, the whole summer, where you had to go in water once a week. And they got a job at the Van Buren Road landfill, hydroseeding.
With the fly ash dump?
Yeah. Once they capped it, parts that they capped and put topsoil on, they would hydroseed it with a hydroseeder, and a lot of times straw mulch it. And we were down there, me and Al were only allowed to drive the trucks because the laborers did all the rest, the union laborers. And they were fighting because this landscape company changed their name from when they had the contract downtown because they never paid their union employees benefits. Well, anyways, the union wanted to mess these guys over. So these guys, Dunkirk used to have its own laborers union, dating back to the 50s.
That was like where Gator started, and
yeah,
some of those guys we worked with down there.
When they were building the thruway and NIMO. So that was, I believe it was 968. And that was still going when me and Al got in the early 80s. So they told us, these two guys told us, gave us an application at work and said, our business manager will be at the hall at 6 o'clock, be there. We went down there, and it was John Bon Giovanni, and I had to translate for Al because he spoke broken English bad. It was like me talking to my grandfather. But
that was old school fiery Al, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was different Al back then.
Yeah. And I forget what I think our initiation fee was like just under $300. And that included your first 3 months' dues. And we got called stupid by a lot of people. We didn't work for like 12 days. And they called us, put us on a pipeline that went from PA to Eden, a repair job. Well, we worked, I want to say it was 14 or 16 days straight. And they had the rule with the union that after you work so many days straight, you gotta have a day off. A full 24 hours off. And we were on that job for at least a month and a half. And then they started building the Galleria Mall. And 210 called down to 968, and we went to work at the Galleria Mall.
Which is a little closer to home for you then.
Yeah.
Now, you were living in Blaisdell then?
Yeah.
Back at Mom's, or you had a place?
No, at my parents'.
You had the apartment building?
Yeah, I had the apartment that I fixed up for me and Cindy, and then Luke came along. And my two brothers were still living there. There was a whole upstairs, 2 apartments upstairs. The materials were there to fix it. They were just too lazy.
What was your, you probably only worked on about 1,000 or 1,500 jobs.
Yeah.
What was, what job sticks out to you as being like the most memorable or meaningful or fun or?
Well, I love doing traffic control for the bridges, for the bridge inspections, because you could be anywhere in Western New York.
Yeah, because Nichols, Long & Moore had that contract for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, they're the only ones with an underbridge machine for a long time.
No, they didn't own the underbridge machine.
Okay.
That's state owned the underbridge machine.
Okay.
But that was fun. I had another job locating 26 miles of underground pipe with like a metal detector.
Yep.
And putting those little wire flags.
Yep.
That was like 3 weeks, and I wish it would have never ended. But all you're doing is you're walking
in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, putting these little flags every 10 or 50. You couldn't put a flag where you couldn't see the other flag, and if it seemed too far, put an extra one.
Yeah.
But that was fun. I always enjoyed doing the traffic control. I didn't enjoy jackhammering.
I can remember when we went down to work at the wastewater treatment plant in Dunkirk. He said, I hate jackhammering, but it's nice to be back to work.
Yeah.
But when we got there, we wore Carhartts until June. Remember how cold it was down there?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, the thing is, I had spent a whole summer with Nichols, Long, and Moore doing nothing but
chipping
pillars, all horizontal.
35-pound chipping gun. No rivet buster.
Yeah. And that's where me and Al come up with the C-clamp on the beam and hang it from a chain.
Yep. Yeah, try to make it a little easier on you. You got to get to that's something, when you and I worked together, you were older than I am right now. And we did some bull work.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever thought it was a good idea to work until they're 70, never.
Well, that's the thing that's going on in today's society is that there's so many people who don't do physical labor anymore, and they don't realize what it takes out of your body. I mean, from working up north, up near the city, there's people up there that hire people to mow their lawn.
Yeah, mow the lawn.
And then they go to they pay $200-300 a month to go to a gym. People don't understand labor.
Yeah, no one wants to work
anymore.
It's all about what they can do to do less.
Yeah.
And that's what got us into a big problem. Everyone was going to go to college and be someone's boss. And then after everybody went to college and everybody had the same degree, now all of a sudden it was like not having a degree because, so it was, I think it'll be a time when a guy that can pour your sidewalk or put your addition on is going to be making the same money as the doctors because they're going to be in more demand.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to know how to type and find something on a computer program, but nobody's going to know how to actually build anything.
To do something physically. And that's, look at the farming industry out here. I mean, it's, go see who the workers are. Who are they? Guatemalans? Mexicans? I got nothing against that.
Well, a lot of that, too, is that once the farms could hire them cheaper, they did. And then the guys that used to do that work went and got different jobs. And now they can't get anybody else because the guys that used to do it, they're off doing something different or struggling.
Yeah.
Because, but I say this all the time, kids that are always talking about, well, use your time off and, don't go, if you don't want to go to work, call in and this and that. And I tell them, I just hope that they never see a job market where you would be happy if somebody hired you to pull weeds in their garden because you didn't have any money. There's no jobs. There's no nothing. You had to go do whatever there was.
Hey, in my life.
But now you can pretty much pick your job. Like you're like, I want to do this. You just go find somebody that does it and say you want to work. Okay, they'll hire you. Hey, whether you know how to do it or not.
In my lifetime, I've picked worms for food.
Right. Yep.
So I had money for food for me, Luke, and Cindy.
Yep.
When I was going through that period.
And there's, like I said, there's kids, I see them all the time. They talk about, you should always use all your time off and and this and that, and I just hope that they never have to experience the time when if you wanted to take extra time off, then they gave you all the time you wanted because they laid you off and got somebody else.
Yeah.
Nowadays they've got them, they're where they want to be. I just hope that's where they always are because it's just rough. I was never completely destitute, but I definitely had to go cut firewood to make it at different times because there was no work.
Yeah.
I had a union book, but there was no work. Nothing was happening yet, and we're out of unemployment. So, what do? You go do what you got to do to put food on the table, and then you got to have gas in the truck to get down and go to the hall.
Yeah.
A couple times a month, 3 times a month, just to show your face, so maybe you'll get called first. But now it's a little different than that, and I hope for these kids that it's always like that because it's going to be a rude awakening if it changes. But
and that, like we were talking there about the farms, we need the immigrants in this country. And I know that politically there's all this bullshit going on, but we need them. I mean, look at, we can't talk politics.
We're not talking politics. What I will say is I agree with you. We need the immigrants, but I'd just like them to be legal.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Vetted, and safe. Relatively speaking.
The same way our relatives got here,
right.
Let them follow the same path.
The day destroy the night, the night divide the day. Try to run, try to hide. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through, bring on through, bring on through to the other side, yeah. Chased our pleasures there, took our treasures there. But can you still recall the time of cry? Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through, bring on through, bring on through to the other side, yeah. Switch and no lights came on. I knew something was wrong. Looked around at everything going around inside of my room. Then we stare at my dresser drawer. I looked around more. Clothing torn, they ignored the floor. If that chick took my last cigarette, I'm gonna get rambunctious. Cause if that chick smoked my last cigarette, I'm gonna get rambunctious, yeah. Time for sexual healing. I'm looking up at the ceiling. Don't mess around with my feelings or get caught up in my dealings. Why would you